And whoever that last person is. AREIF. I don't know who that is.
All right.
Free agent. Well, everybody, happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Joe Thompson, president of the Larry Dierker chapter. In case you don't know who I am, I'm the one wearing this funny Astros green hat, green shirt. And all I got to say before we begin, I'm just going to talk for a few minutes. And then we have Scott Carter from SABR, who's going to talk to y'all for a couple minutes about SABR 53 and a new initiative to recruiting new people to get into SABR. So I'm going to let Scott talk here in a few minutes. But I just want to say before we begin, I have one major concern that we should probably ask ourselves for the month. Will Cam Smith make the opening day roster?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
No?
Yeah.
You know who Cam Smith is? I mean,
Yes, he's gonna make it.
Yes, he is.
okay. Do you want to put him in right field?
That's probably in the options. One from Performance on the Space Cowboys when he had it.
All right. And I guess one other question. Are we still okay with Altuve playing left?
Sure.
No.
Yes.
No.
Shame of the Cubs.
All right. Okay. Well, that's it for that. All right. Well, we gained 4 new members in a way. So I think we mentioned Gary's name last month from Tomball. I think we did. Returnees, we have Kenneth Lilly from the Woodlands. I know Kenneth. Kenneth, are you online? Isn't Kenneth the returning champ from the Fantasy Baseball League? Okay, so I guess that's determines if he renews every year, if he wins the fantasy or something like that.
I guess we got NIL money for him to show up.
Right. And Chris, I don't know how to say his last name, and Melanie Pena. Last month we had Jonathan Goodwin gave a great presentation, right? Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan, for that great presentation about the history of Houston baseball stadiums from Colt Stadium through Dyken Park. Okay. Yeah, really good. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, please go back and watch the video. Before I turn it over to Scott, anybody here at a meeting for the very first time? Raise your hand. Okay. So, welcome. So, John, would you like to introduce your guest?
Sure. This is Buddy Rollin, otherwise George Paul Rollin. Buddy Rollin. He's a friend of mine for about 60 years. He's a Astro fan. He worked for GE for quite a while, but right now he's just a great photographer and website guru, Photoshop guy, also all that type of stuff. But anyway, he's a big face.
Okay. Welcome. Also, I think we have somebody else new that just showed up. We have our guest speaker tonight, who's actually been a member, but this is his first meeting. Benny Gilbert. But let me introduce your dad.
Okay.
This your dad?
Thomas.
This is Thomas, right?
Glad to be here. Thank y'all for having us.
One of the first things they said is, I don't like driving up here from Santa Fe. You know, driving up to Houston from Santa Fe, so I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But welcome, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right? And Benny's our guest speaker tonight. This is his first meeting, although he's been a member for what? Since October of last year?
Yeah.
It's October of last year. So welcome, Benny. And finally, somebody new just walked in. Heard.
I was just talking about it a little while ago. This is Ed Umbright, Jim Umbright's nephew.
Oh.
Diamond, comes.
Thank you.
Say a few words if he wants to about it.
This is Jim Umbright's nephew.
Yes.
All right. Yes, sir. Welcome. Thank you. All right. Anybody new online? No. All right. Well, very quickly, we have Scott Carter here. Scott, Executive Vice President of SABR, right?
That's right.
All right, kind of a big wig, as we used to say back in the old days, with SABR, and he wants to talk to you about a couple of things. SABR 53 and a brand new initiative that SABR has to recruiting new people. So Scott, I'm going to let you talk first.
Joe, thank you so much for having me. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. And Joe, kudos for not only finding something green to wear, but also hosting the live portion of this in a green room. That's pretty impressive. I don't know how you guys line that up. But anyway, thanks for having me, all. I won't take too much of your time, but I did want to pop on and personally invite everybody to SABR's annual convention, which will be held this June in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So a hopefully short drive for most of y'all. And I think it's going to be a really great event. If you've never been to one of SABR's annual conventions, it's a 5-day wall-to-wall baseball celebration where we're going to have research presentations, fantastic featured speakers. This year, most of our featured speakers are going to be coming to us by way of the Rangers. So we've got Pudge Rodriguez is going to be our primary keynote speaker. We'll have Bruce Bochy from the Rangers, obviously a 4-time World Series champion, coming to speak with us. Chris Young, their president of baseball operations, and a lot of really great folks to talk baseball history and the current game as well. So if you can make the drive to join us, we'd love to see you. How many, just by quick show of hands, how many folks have been to a SABR national convention in their lifetimes? I see Bob. There's Bob. Hey, Bob. So we would love to, yeah, that's fantastic. We would love to have you. Obviously, you know, the success of the event is really going to boil down to, you know, how many folks from Texas make the trip out to come hang out with us. So if you've never been, it's a great place to meet new baseball acquaintances and pick up on old ones. We're going to go to a Texas Rangers game and take a private tour of Globe Light Field. We'll also be heading out to one of their minor league affiliates and going to see a Frisco Rough Riders game. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to email the staff. We can help you register. Recommend if you need a carpool buddy to get up there to find somebody in the local chapter. We'd love to see you. It'll be a great time, and that's SABR 53. So our 53rd annual convention taking place, and I almost didn't give you the dates, June 25th through the 29th at the Weston DFW Airport there in the Dallas Metro, Dallas-Fort Worth Metro. So hope to see you there. Last thing, switching gears just a little bit before I turn it back over to Joe and get out of your guys' hair. SABR has just unveiled a new referral program to drive members here in the next couple of weeks. So this is called the SABR 500 Club. Hopefully you've seen something about it in the news, in the SABR newsletter. But the SABR 500 Club is a referral-based membership drive with the goal of welcoming 500 new members before April 30th of this year. So all we're asking is if you know somebody who loves baseball as much as you do, talks about it, reads about it, just shares it with other folks, invite them to join. And this is a great period to do it because like members of the 500 Home Run Club, we're going to celebrate them joining our elite group. They'll get a cool custom baseball card set featuring members of the 500 Home Run Club. And if you refer 3 or more members during this membership drive, you can get the card set as well, or a SABR lapel pen. And the person who refers the most new members in this period is going to get actually free registration to the convention in Dallas later this summer. So I'll drop both links to both of those, both the convention and the membership drive in the chat. And then I'm done and you guys can carry on with your meetings. But we really appreciate you guys' support. Love seeing folks get together, talk baseball. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Scott. All right. Anybody have any questions? So far, no.
How many home runs did he? Yeah,
How many home runs did what?
he did 500 home runs.
440.
440? David King?
That's what I say, 3 sales.
He didn't make 5.
No, I didn't make 5.
Oh, all right.
It's all right. More strikeouts? Yes, that's correct. All right, Scott, put the link to the SABR convention details in the chat. Y'all can look at that when you're watching the video again later, when it's on YouTube. Or you could just go to saber.org and follow the link for SABR 53. Yes, Mike.
Anyone know how the Arenado talks are going?
How the Nolan Arenado talks are going.
Going to trade talks? Yeah.
Why did he turn us down again?
They make you play left field, I'm sorry.
He can play left field, yeah. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Last time I heard that, nothing new. And I follow this stuff on all the social media platforms because I don't have anything better to do, right? I follow the Astros hot stove stuff, so.
Who's his agent? Is it Boros?
I don't know who his agent is. So I just know he had a no trade clause, but we were one of the teams on his list. So I don't get that. I don't understand. But anyway, very quickly, Mike Acosta, as you know, the Astrodome expert, talked to us in January. He is going to have, he has this show called, I'll make sure I got this right, Houston City Beats or something like that. It's an online show. It's on Facebook and other streaming platforms where he goes on all the time, talks about different things from Houston. He has invited SABR to talk about, to come onto his show and talk about SABR in the Houston area. So he had asked me if I'd come on and talk, and he's going to try to do this as much as he can. We're supposed to have our first show this week, and he's invited me to come on to talk about SABR. And then he's invited anybody else 2 weeks from now. Okay, so we're going to do this every 2 weeks. If you know anything about Mike, he loves to talk about the Astrodome. He knows more stuff about the dome than I would ever forget. Okay, he just knows that much. But he's a big proponent of SABR, big proponent of the Astrodome. And if you want to talk to Mike about why you like SABR, or you're just your favorite Astrodome memory, or favorite baseball memory, or why this is important to you, let me know, and I'll refer you to Mike. I'll be sending out emails all the time. We'll kind of see how this first show goes. But scheduling the first show has been interesting, to say the least, because I'll send Mike a message, and then it'll be on Facebook, and then something happens, and then we'll see how it goes. But we're supposed to have our first recording this week. As far as recording and being on his show, he says he can do everything remotely, so that's no big deal. So he just wants to know how many people here from SABR would be interested in. Yeah, it's like Houston City Beat. It's not a radio show. It's kind of a hybrid podcast, newscast.
On YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. He's on all the streaming platforms. But okay, next month we are not going to be here. We're not going to be at the Spaghetti Western because we are having our meeting at Constellation Field. And to talk about that for a second, Mike, you want to talk about that?
Yes.
All right, and we have a very special guest next month that will talk to us as we continue our celebration of the Astrodome all year in 2025. So, Mike, go ahead.
April 12th, which is a Saturday next month. A lot of y'all know who Tal Smith is, but you don't know his story. He worked for Gabe Paul in Cincinnati, and Judge Roy Hoffines got the Astros started. He hired Gabe Paul. Tal came to Houston with Gabe. They started building the Astrodome. They bumped heads, Gabe Paul and Judge Roy Hoffines. Tal was going back to Cincinnati, but Judge Roy said, I want you to stay and be our liaison building the Astrodome and be our person between the construction company and the baseball team. And that's how Tal joined the Astros. way back, Crossley Field had that incline warning track. They were the only major league ball club that did. A lot of minor league teams had it. But then when Tal built Minute Maid Park was over that, he put Tal's Hill out center field. So that was all the way back to that Crossley Field connection in the late 50s. So Joe wanted to have an Astrodome theme since this is the 2025 is the 60th anniversary of the opening of the Astrodome. So Tal is going to talk to us about his part in overseeing and building the Astrodome. I don't know what it would be, but I do know that every time we ask Tal to do something, he is so meticulous that it comes out awesome. And he's just an encyclopedia of knowledge. So we've got a Saturday game. We can get there at 4 and meet before the game. The tickets are $65, which includes a meal and seats in front of the Insperity Club. And we get in early. We don't have to wait in line. And I don't know if we get the giveaway, which is
Replica
championship rings of the Space Cowboys first AAA championship. But I was able to get them the whole 50 tickets. Right now we have this list of people. You know whether you're on it or not, and about 5 more. Yes, you are. And so a lot of y'all don't know. Talking over here to John Lloyd, and he didn't know much about it. I think it's a very rare opportunity to hear Tal speak. So we've got a couple of months to prepare it too. I'm just really excited about listening to something really good history. So if you don't have your money in, you can send it to me, or you can just call him up. Scott McKay just called him up, said he's with the SABR group, mentioned my name, and he got his 2 tickets. It's $65 a person, $4 for parking. I think it's $10 if you don't buy in advance, and then you just download the tickets. So you can just call the Cowboys. And I wanted the 20 tickets because that's how many it took us to make sure we got the group rate. So I've done that. So now anybody can just call them up. You don't have to send your friend me. You can if you want to, but if you want to go, just call them up, part of them. But they're going to cut it off, so I don't know when, because they want to make sure they don't have any unsold tickets. It's their first full homestand of the season. They have like 3 games, and they take a week or so off, and then there's this week of April 12th.
They're playing the Albuquerque Isotopes in Colorado Rockies AAA team,
So everybody knows about them. But that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Mike. And if you've never heard Tal speak, this is a speaker you don't want to miss.
Yeah, he hasn't spoken in several years.
Right.
Don't remember about Chuck.
Still a member of our check. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, if anyone has access to the Houston Chronicle, yesterday, there was a full-page ad taken out by the Astrodome Conservancy addressed to, it's an open letter to the Houston Livestock Promotions, urging them to consider renovating the dome to be their new state-of-the-art arena for the show. It's their holiday dinner.
Wow, that was yesterday? That a Chronicle?
Full page.
Full page.
During that energy signal.
Yeah, Gloria.
Are we gonna record Tal speaking?
Yeah, I'm
I think we should.
gonna try to work that out somehow.
That's gonna be history.
I might have to record it with this iPad or something. Well, I'll work something out, so. Yeah. Thank you, Gloria.
Chris has bought tickets.
What?
Chris has bought tickets.
Okay.
Are you able to do that, Chris?
Not any better than what iPad. I don't know how much equipment I can bring in to the game.
Yeah, that might be something. I might just have to do it with the iPad. So I have an iPad stand too, so it'll work out. But, all right. One last thing before I introduce Benny. How many of you have ever heard the name Mickey Herskowitz?
Oh, yeah.
Quite a few of you?
Letters, the list.
Yeah, letters from Lefty. This YouTube video I'm going to show, it says it's 11 years old. But Mickey talks about the historical importance of the Astrodome. It's about 4.5 minutes long. So if you've ever heard Mickey talk about the Astrodome, here's 4 minutes of gold for you from Mickey Herskowitz about the historical importance of the Astrodome.
Sure.
Did y'all see that on Zoom?
Not yet.
Not yet, I'm sorry.
Just make it go with us.
Yes.
Yes. You actually spoke to our chapter when, Bob? What's the last time?
3 years ago.
3 years?
From the day it opened in 1965, the Astrodome helped define Houston as an international city. In the years from the 1970s, 1980s, traveling in my role as a sports columnist and author, I went to cities such as Paris, Munich, London, and Johannesburg. And wherever I went, cab drivers and hotel clerks would say, when they found out I was from Houston, they'd say, "Oh yes, the Astrodome." I've never heard anybody anywhere, anytime, ever say, "Oh, Houston, the Reliant Stadium." And no disrespect to the Reliant Stadium. It's a $750 million stadium and one of the greatest in the world, but it wasn't a breakthrough landmark facility as the Astrodome was. The idea, the very concept of demolishing the Astrodome is almost unconscionable and economically outrageous. It's still worth a priceless value today as the first dome stadium, multi-purpose indoor air-conditioned stadium in the world. And if you're going to think about tearing it down, you might as well tear down something like the pyramids, which could make great parking spaces all over Egypt. Otherwise, it just sits there. As part of the World Sports Center, my affiliation is with the nonprofit component, which is the Global Sports Institute. We believe that there's still great value and great usage in the Astrodome for a number of between 10 and 15 world-class sports museums locally, statewide, and nationally and internationally to occupy the Astrodome and attract tourists, create jobs, create internships, even to have a foundation that would work with major universities in the city and the state to create even advanced degrees for coaches in various sports. It not only would reestablish the Astrodome as the unique and innovative architectural wonder that it once was, but it would not demolish, not diminish or lessen the value of the Reliant Stadium, but would actually make it more accessible to more people. What we forget about the Astrodome is that it was never just a stadium. It created unlimited boundaries in the architectural world. It gave Buckminster Fuller a place to have not just a laboratory, but a real-time, real-life exhibit for his geodesic dome, which changed architecture around the world. And the marvels of the Astrodome go beyond any of the sports that are played there. I remember when the first day that Judge Roy Hoffines unveiled his mock-up, his model of the Dome Sports Stadium. And it cost $40,000 in the 1960s to build this model that was so detailed that it even contained miniature toilets in the restrooms that actually flushed. And people paid money to tour the Astrodome when it was empty. The ball clubs were on the road or no dates were scheduled. People would buy tickets to see the stadium without anything going on. I don't know of another stadium in the world where that happens. We need to continue the history of that stadium, and we need to restore the greatness of it, the wonder of it, by redesigning it redefining it with museums, a multi-purpose entertainment complex, other amenities, and perhaps even a boutique hotel. The possibilities are unlimited. And one thing for certain, if you dishonor the past, you are certainly going to limit the future.
There you go. Thank you, Greg. Greg shared YouTube being YouTube. Sorry.
George and YouTube, always something else.
YouTube being YouTube. Sorry about that. Thank you, Greg, Moore, for sharing that video. I don't think I'd ever watched that before. So thank you. If any of y'all have find any other videos or you want to give a memory about the Astrodome, we're doing it all year. I don't know if I'll have time tonight to share my memory, but we will see. That's all right. So without further ado, though, I'd like to introduce our special guest, BENNY GILBERT, the author and creator of the Mission 1965 Astrodome Restoration Proposal. You're born in Chicago, 2002. BENNY has a lifelong love of the game of baseball and the Astros. Among other interests, he likes to cook and write. Became enamored with the history of ballparks and stadiums at a young age with special affection for the Astrodome. Began working on his own restoration proposal for the dome in the summer of 2020 and has been working on and off on the project ever since. He's also a member of our chapter since October of last year, and him and his dad made the trip up here from Santa Fe, Texas. So everybody, please give a round of applause for BENNY GILBERT.
First, thank you to Joe Thompson for sending out the invitation and allowing me to present tonight. Apologies. And also, thank you to all of you for attending. So, this has been in the works for several years. And so, this is, while not the entirety of my proposal, as the original version of said proposals in essay format, this is sort of the condensed version to fit into a slideshow, and it should have most of the pertinent information for tonight. This the actual slideshow. So, my name is BENNY GILBERT. Though I currently work in food service for a living, one of my lifelong passions has been Houston sports and sports history. I've been an Astros fan practically since birth, and my dad has followed the team since their inception in 1962 as the Houston Colt 45s. Though I love all aspects of Astros history, I've always been enamored with the history and the future of the Astrodome. As someone who never got to visit the dome for any events, as it was a bit before my time, I've always wanted to see it restored and reopened. Unfortunately, Harris County hasn't taken action on a renovation plan yet, and so the dome has sat abandoned now for nearly 20 years. I believe the official closing date was in 2008 after Ike, but it's been a bit longer than that. There have been many plans made in that time, from the good to the bizarre, and the last plan for renovation, where it was going to be turned into a convention center and parking lot, was scrapped by Judge Linda Hidalgo in November of 2019. It was a solid idea, but I believe we can do better. So beginning in the summer of 2020, I devised my own, currently titled Mission 1965. There are two notes here. First, this proposal is in no way connected to the Vision Astrodome proposal that was submitted by Astrodome Conservancy in November of last year. However, I have been in contact with their group before on a few different things. Also, as I mentioned, this is a slightly condensed version of the proposal due to the slideshow format and the time constraints of the meeting. This proposal is simple, but I believe it is the best course of action for the building, to restore it back into a fully functional sports stadium and event venue. I know it may seem a little strange to want another stadium in Houston, as there are already so many, such as Energy Stadium, Dyken Park, etc. But none carry the weight to the history that the Astrodome does. It is the first ever indoor sports stadium in the history of the world. It is also by far Houston's most iconic landmark. So I believe that we should try to restore it back to its original state as much as possible while adding some modern amenities and touches. This plan focuses not necessarily on adaptive reuse as other plans in the past have, but rather on restoring the Astrodome back to its former glory and design purposes to not only make it as functional as can be, but also to preserve its history in the best possible way. Due to the building's large size, many single-use proposals would prove to be inadequate. A restored Astrodome that keeps its original design purposes intact would easily fix this problem, generating an increased number of potential event types that can be held in the Astrodome, which also increases the amount of revenue that the building makes on a yearly basis. Potential tenants and events can include the following: spring football, such as the UFL's Houston Roughnecks, which is originally kind of partially what spawned this idea. The Houston Texans, they could use it for practices, preseason events, etc. Annual throwback slash turn back the clock series and games for the Astros. Boxing, MMA, wrestling, and other combat sports events. High school and college sports for the University of Houston and other schools around the area. Basketball, hockey, other various sports, concerts, public events, auto racing, additional space for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and much more. The changes made in the Astrodome under this plan would be as follows: extensive cleaning of the interior and exterior, which has already started, as I believe they did an asbestos removal several years ago. Moving the excess concrete bleachers on the back wall above the tunnel that were added in 1988 to add a new and improved version of the Astrolite scoreboard, which would have modern LEDs, as most scoreboards are, but would keep the retro dot matrix style graphics that the scoreboard originally had. Also, two jumbotrons would be added on the opposite side of the venue, similar to the later scoreboards that were put into the Astrodome in 1988. So that way it could better improve sightlines across the venue, and so we have multiple screens, similar to how they have in Dyke Park currently. Retrofitted advertising would be added to fit the vintage themed looking venue. The LED lights in the bleacher rooms would likely not be added, as I feel it's a bit too modest to try and keep a classic look. We would have new seating, which would be done with classic rainbow multicoloring. The seating would vary depending on the event and would likely be reduced in this case compared to how large the Astrodome originally was. Originally, the Astrodome seated about 42,000 people for baseball and 50,000 for football. I'm thinking somewhere in the 40,000 range would be plenty for most events. New luxury skyboxes and a commentary booth would be added back in their original positions. Other amenities such as concession stands and restrooms. Potentially expanding concourses in other areas to make them more easily traversable. Renovating and adding back locker rooms, clubhouses, dugouts, etc. when needed. Potentially adding back the penthouse that Roy Hopkins had installed when the building first opened, which could be used as luxury suites or vans. Adding a party deck in left field. My original idea for this came from the fact that there are a couple stadiums that have these. I believe Citi Field in Queens, where the Mets play, has this. And so my thinking is to do a modern version of the Jones Keller restaurant that was in the Astrodome back when it first opened, but reinvented as a space-age themed diner. This could be a great spot for a corporate restaurant sponsor such as Whataburger, but it could also be its own thing. Any potential plumbing, electrical, and structural issues would be updated, though I believe the building is still structurally sound. Putting in new AstroTurf that can be used for various events and can also be removed for other events when needed. Cleaning and repairing the roof skylights. Bringing back the roof gondola that doubled as a lighting rig for the Astrodome. And I've also had various mural art around the stadium and its corridors as a way to emphasize and highlight Houston culture.
Benny, come on. Yes, got a question. Maybe somebody else will remember this. I went to the Astrodome several times. Did anybody go to the Dome Skeller restaurant? What was the Dome Skeller restaurant? I don't remember seeing it. Maybe it was because I was a teenager and I didn't really care about it. So, but
I remember going to it out in Wright Field. Dad has this saloon playing right still. He was out there practice. So for the game, so we'd have hot dogs and stuff like that.
It's a regular restaurant, they have steaks and everything.
Oh, really? Just regular restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you go early and eat and watch the guys take practice. There might have been some behind home plate when baseball cards started making a comeback in the early 80s. Maybe the late 70s. They had baseball card shows for us, and I remember a kid going, I got a Topps Mickey Mantle rookie. Some guy offered me $100 for it. I'm gonna hold on to it, see if I can get more. Cars are really cheap. I got a satchel paid for like $5. And but it wasn't a big hobby that they had those shows there. And then it took off 3 or 4 years.
Well, you can watch the whole game from the restaurant. Stay in the restaurant, just sit there and eat, right? Watch the whole game.
So it was.
I think it was in right field.
So I remember that.
Yeah, and the card shows, I went to several of those. But they were all over the place. They weren't just there. Yeah, and they were really big, really big. Not miniature like you see around here. Just a lot of the big, can't think of the names of TriStar or whatever it is.
Well, that was before TriStar.
Yeah, I know, but that did with the guys before TriStar had those shows in the dome. So they're pretty big deal.
Yeah,
We're actually trading the parking lot from.
no, that's okay. It's weird because I actually didn't know that the Dome's Color Restaurant was a thing until a couple years ago when I stumbled across 2 Dome's Color mugs at a Goodwill for like $2 a piece. They were in really good shape. And so I did some research and found I was like, oh, they had a restaurant here in the Astrodome, and I had no idea about it. And so I still have those, by the way. They're at the house as part of the little mini memorabilia collection I have. But that's kind of where the idea spawned from, to kind of do a modernized version of that.
Well, if you want to bring those mugs to a future meeting.
I'm not doing it tonight, but I had some other things on my plate, but if or when I ever get around to coming to another meeting, I'm trying to remember to bring them.
Okay.
At the bare minimum, I am sure I can send you pictures afterwards.
Or you can show it on Zoom.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
that'll work. Cool, that I can do.
Thanks. Go ahead.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the Astrodome Hall of History. So one thing is, because the Astrodome is such an iconic venue, I wanted to try and find a way to highlight its history. And so essentially, this should be a museum-like area dedicated to the history of the Astrodome, both as an iconic sports venue and as a marvel of engineering, and would also talk about its impact on the history of the city of Houston. Features of the hall would include a timeline wall featuring the top 25 to 30 most iconic and important moments in Astrodome history. So my idea is to go in chronological order from when the building opened in the early 60s up to the present day. A section showcasing various historical artifacts from the Astrodome's history, such as game-worn jerseys, seating, signage, etc. Some of which could be on permanent display, and then others we can get on loan. A trophy room area, either for the current tenants of the Astrodome or for general use in sports. A section dedicated to the Astrodome's construction and engineering, showcasing the building's impact in architecture and how it helped to skyrocket the city of Houston. I would also like to see a founders area dedicated to former Houston Mayor and County Judge Roy Hoffman, who of course created the Astrodome and founded the Astros. On the right there is an example plaque created by myself just via Photoshop of the opening day game in April of 1965. This isn't included in the presentation, but part of my inspiration also came from, if any of you have ever been to the Historical Museum in Alvin, there is a little mini section dedicated to Nolan Ryan and his career there that is shaped like a locker room, but they have a bunch of cool memorabilia on display. And so part of my inspiration for the museum portion kind of came from that. So the hall would act not only as a way to show off the venue's history, but also to help educate a younger generation of Houstonians who've never gotten a chance to experience the Astrodome about why the Astrodome is so significant and important to our city. Next, one of the most popular pitches I've heard for the Astrodome's renovation is to turn it into some form of urban or green park. While this plan does not agree with that idea, as I believe the Astrodome could and should be used for much more, there is a way that something like it could be done to satisfy those who want one. I believe a solution lies right across the street from the Astrodome, the vacant lot where Astro World once stood. Since the theme park's demolition in 2005, the Astro World lot is sat vacant. Part was turned into parking, while another part was purchased by the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in 2012. As for the rest, it is undetermined what will happen to it, and this is where an urban park could fit in. Not only would this reconnect the two halves of the Astrodome domain and nearly double the size of NRG Park, it would also bring in much more revenue to Harris County and Energy Park. For comparison's sake, Houston's current Discovery Green Park covers 12 acres in downtown and was built in 2008 for the cost of around $125 million. In today's money, that would be $2 million. For those wondering, my figures were calculated sometime last year, so it's still fairly accurate. Maybe some slight discrepancies compared to now, but not by much. In comparison, 102 acres are currently owned by the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, according to a Houston Chronicle article from 2018. If even half of that was used, which would be about 50 to 60 acres, it would be 4 to 5 times larger than the current Discovery Green Park, allowing for plenty of opportunity for growth and revenue. The cost of such an endeavor is unknown at this time, however. Due to the land essentially being mostly open lot at the moment, you're already basically starting with a big canvas. Ideally, this project could be done incrementally. I was thinking to have the Astrodome renovation portion done first, and then tackle the Green Park next door later on. This could also present the opportunity to bring back another Houston landmark, the Astrodome, which was a 340-foot tall gyro tower, which was part of Astroworld from 1965 to 1999. The tower allowed for a 360-degree panoramic view of both the Astrodome and the city itself, similar to the Space Needle in Seattle. I believe bringing the tower back in the middle of said new Green Park would be a perfect fit and a great way to reconnect the land's past history with its present. So above, on the image on the right, is an image of Astroworld and the Astrodome when they were both kind of in their infancy. And then that is how it looks today. So that is basically in my head what I have in mind for the area where the Green Park would be and the approximate location where the Astro Needle would go. So it'd still be basically right across the street from where the dome sits currently. Next, among the many stories that are told about the Astrodome, there is one that stands out among the rest, yet has somewhat been forgotten over time, which is the story of the late Jim Albright, who I believe should be integral to any renovation plan for the Astrodome due to its unique connection with the eighth wonder of the world. For context, when the Houston Colt 45s were founded back in 1962, Jim Albright was one of the first players selected by Houston in the 1961 MLB expansion draft. According to Baseball Reference, Albright posted a 9-5 record with a 3.06 ERA between Houston and Pittsburgh. Albright would be diagnosed with melanoma in 1963 and passed away in 1964 at the age of 33. He was loved by his teammates for his bravest attitude and kindness towards others. After his death, Jim's number 32 would then become the first retired number in Astros franchise history. I forgot to mention this here, but I believe Jim was also part of the inaugural Houston Astros Hall of Fame class in 2019.
Right now, no, you're correct.
So his ashes were scattered at the Astrodome itself before it was completed by his brother Ed, making the site of the Astrodome his final resting. That said, I believe it would only be right to honor him with a proper memorial marker on the Astrodome's grounds, preferably at the front entrance as part of these renovations. As to my knowledge, there isn't one there currently. As an aside to this, the Umbra Memorial is something that I feel can be realistically accomplished with the help of SABR's Houston chapter and SABR local grant program, which is one big reason why I wanted to do this presentation. While I don't have all the details squared away at this time, the Umbra Memorial in front of the Astrodome could be completed as a collaborative effort between both SABR Houston and the Houston Astros organization sometime later this year or in early 2026. Work on a specific aspect of the project can involve other members of the SABR Houston chapter, especially those more familiar with the Colt 45's era of Astros history to help push this forward. This could also be a feasible way to begin the Astrodome's restoration as a whole, starting small before moving on to bigger things. The largest question mark in any plan to renovate the Astrodome is funding. The most expensive things to fix, according to this plan, will likely be engineering, moving part of the concrete bowl to make room for the new Astrolight scoreboard, and fixing the rotating lower bowl seating system to put the seating into multiple configurations for a wider variety of events. Unfortunately, an exact cost cannot be given at this time due to not knowing the full extent of what needs to be repaired inside the building. However, we can get a rough estimate. In 2018, former County Judge Ed Emmett helped to pass the Astrodome Reward Plan, which would have turned the venue into a convention hall and parking garage for a cost of $105 million. That plan was shelved by Judge Hidalgo in 2019, but the $105 million is still reserved for the Astrodome. According to Chris Alexander, who is a longtime associate member of Astrodome Conservancy and a trusted source for Astrodome information, some of the money was used for asbestos removal and architect/engineer hirings, which left about $90 to $95 million. To find the proper budget, you need to find the cost for similar past repairs in another stadium. And in this case, add that number to the existing $95 million to be sure there's enough funding there. Thankfully, we do have a close enough example to work with. Let us compare funding to the only previous renovation project that is at least somewhat similar to the Astrodome's current situation. In 2005, the Superdome in New Orleans was heavily damaged by Hurricane Katrina. Many things in the building had to be replaced and repaired, and the total cost ended up being approximately $193 million. In today's money, accounting for inflation, that is about $273 million. And if we combined the figures from the $95 million that we reserved from the previous Astrodome plan, along with the approximate figure for the Superdome renovation for 2005, we get a figure of around $368 million, which gives us an approximate budget of $350 to $400 million for Astrodome renovations. The total renovations can very well be done for less, but again, it depends on how much needs to be repaired and how many amenities should/would be put into the dome right from the start. This may seem like a lot of money to spend. However, I believe that the funds will be balanced out over time by the various events that would be out of the Astrodome. Also, this proposal is less than half the estimated cost of the envisioned Astrodome proposal by Astrodome Conservancy from last year, which was tentatively valued at around $1 billion to complete. Due to Harris County already reserving nearly $100 million for the Astrodome, that would cover a reasonable portion of the budget. As for the rest of the funding, it could be covered through various other means, such as sponsorships, donations, etc. If the word is spread enough to the public and private investors about the benefits of this plan, examples of potential sponsors could include local companies who have strong connection to Houston and the surrounding area, such as HEB, Gallery Furniture, Whataburger, and more. There are also other companies and businesses that have a strong connection to the Astrodome's construction, such as Walter P. Moore, Fair Play Scoreboards, and the Astroturf Corporation, who I believe would all be happy to help the cause. Finally, in the Vision Astrodome plan from Astrodome Conservancy, I re-looked over their PowerPoint deck for it several days ago whenever I was finishing this, and I noticed an interesting tidbit. So the Astrodome, due to its historical nature, is the only building and energy park that can leverage state and federal tax credits to make the project viable for private investment. A project to this scale would receive approximately $400 million in state and federal cash infusions. I am uncertain how possible it would be to currently pull that off, but getting potential state and federal funding is certainly something to consider, as that would be massive for any Astrodome renovation proposal to be completed. In this day and age, we are so focused on trying to make everything so modern that it can sometimes cloud judgment. However, I believe in this case that it is best to look towards the past. When it was built, the Astrodome was a symbol of a city with a bright future, and we believed that anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Paraphrase President Kennedy, we choose to do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. As you sit here 60 years later, the Astrodome has the opportunity to reflect Houston once again. As a city that has come back from insurmountable odds and rebuilt on countless occasions. The Astrodome is a symbol of ingenuity, of the human spirit, and triumph. Now it needs to stand proud as a symbol of history, of reserve, and of hope. I hope you consider my ideas and help put them into action. Houston and the world in general need something to show a path toward the bright future, and I believe bringing back the wonder of the world into school board can be that symbol to Houstonians and many others as well, not just for past generations, but for many generations to come. Thank you.
So question,
Yes.
actually, are there figures on what it costs to maintain the Astrodome?
Not currently. I believe Astrodome Conservancy did some myself. However, I do not have the numbers on me at the moment, unfortunately.
Okay, the second question is follow on to that. What would it cost to tear it down?
I believe the cost to tear it down would be something like 275 million. I read something similar to that at Astrodome Conservancy's on their proposal that they did. However, it's one of I believe it was something to the extent of it would cost almost as much to tear it down as it would to renovate.
So it can't remain in the state that it is in perpetuity. Eventually, something will have to be done.
Yes,
The sooner it is addressed,
the better.
the better, because it's costing probably $50 or $100 million a year just to keep it in the state that it's in.
Yeah.
That's just a ballpark. I mean, I'm just
Oh, yeah.
going for a matter.
Yeah, I know that there is a figure for it. Unfortunately, I do not have that on me at the moment. I keep quite a bit of files on this at the house and in the bigger version. But yeah, it does cost quite a bit to kind of keep it going. And I know what it's currently used for is mostly just storage for the rodeo and other events and things. So they're just not really doing a lot.
As to your knowledge, what is the extent of the asbestos abatement?
So
Has it been completed?
to my knowledge, the asbestos room is completed. They got rid of all of it. And the building is still, to the best of my knowledge, also like fully structurally sound. So they wouldn't really have to worry too much about any major structural issues to the best of my knowledge.
Yes, for sure.
I think what's the maintenance is about $10 million. They get that money.
That's good. That's a lot less shops.
Well, actually, I saw this article from Houston Public Media where somebody last year says the county spent $150,000 per year in utility and insurance costs for the Astrodome as a part of the larger NRG park complex.
It's not free. It doesn't just sit there.
Right, yeah, so that's another cost.
I think it's punishing me.
I would like to point out, this chapter in conjunction with Mike Vance got the Astrodome in May of 2018 designated as the Texas Historical Landmark.
Yes, it did.
And you can't tear that.
The only way to be torn down or renovated in any way is if it got approval from the National Register of Historic Places, I believe, or at least the Texas Historical Commission, something to that extent.
And I wanted to say something about that 2005 Superdome. You mentioned you used numbers there and put it today's numbers. But what you left out is construction costs about tripled. So the next 2005. So you're really closer to that $1 billion number.
That's true.
Yeah. They doubled up to 2020 in the last 9 years. That's gone up again. We're looking at about $1 billion.
Steel just went up in the last 60 days.
Unless they hire
It's
somebody.
like terrible.
Right.
Mike would do it for cost. You do the job for cost.
I do it for cost, that's right.
Yeah.
And 2%.
Again, a lot of these figures were calculated last year, and so again, I'm not an expert in terms of,
No, we understand. Let's go.
so that's something that I
Well
know
done.
should be adjusted.
A lot of work, well done.
Appreciate your answer.
I definitely think that's something that, yeah,
So that Astral Park, would that be, so that would be on that other side where the Astral
Yeah.
used to be, would there be any potential like green space that would almost like be like a walkway, like?
there is actually a bridge there.
Yeah.
Right,
It's still there that connects the two halves over the
Right.
freeway there.
But would it continue, like, would part of your proposal have like a pathway, like, that would go from that bridge, like, to the Astrodome? Or-
I think it could definitely be added. Like, because the main bridge is already there, so it wouldn't be
Right.
too hard really to kind of expand that and kind of modify that as needed to make it fit with the modern plan.
Same with Bain used to stay.
Yes.
Right, the race can play here in the dump.
What it comes to you,
Yeah, Benny,
what do you think fans it, but just one of the players has it?
what do you think, based on all your research, what do you think is the reason why
Nothing
been done here?
Well, I think a lot of it is just because the county can be kind of lazy on a lot of things. And I think because, well, I think part of it is because they put in so much money in the early 2000s to get Minute Maid built, and to get the Toyota Center built and all this other stuff, that they just kind of forgot about the Astrodome, but also they can't really tear it down. One, because we already talked about the historical significance, but the reason why it wasn't torn down earlier is because they built Energy Stadium so close to it that if they were to demolish it, it could potentially damage the stadium next door. So they kind of built themselves in between a rock and a hard place.
I'll give you the easy answer. Good development.
Yeah.
Well, she's not gonna be around much longer. That's what they say. That's what they say. Ed Evans was really pushing, but people are getting.
Admittedly, the problem was still there before Judge Hidalgo, but again, stalled it out and made it worse. So it's kind of, it's not really necessarily one factor. I think it's a combination of things that has kind of led to the Astrodome just sitting. And it's like, there have been projects done before to fix up ballparks and stadiums such as this. Like I mentioned the Superdome here, but also for those of you who remember Rickwood Field in Alabama, that was pretty much abandoned for a long time, and then it got fully restored back just a couple of years ago.
That's where Aaron played.
Yes.
Aaron, that's okay.
A lot of people played there.
Now it's a minor league.
Yes.
Is there a time frame that they would start the next 12 months? This
For the Astrodome?
Yeah.
Assuming
that somebody said, yes, do it, let's get it done. I'm saying at least a year.
Oh, yeah. My thinking is
longer.
with
that union.
I was thinking it would probably take somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 2 or 3 years in order to get it done. Yeah, yeah, I would say 2 to 4 years is a good figure. I think it more or less depends on like how much do they want to do that quickly, and also because they have to work around other events like the rodeo and Texans games and a bunch of other stuff. So their construction schedule may vary depending on how busy the rest of Energy Park is.
We're gonna tear down Energy.
No, at least not yet. I doubt that they give the Texans a new stadium anytime soon.
That's a good question for Jal.
Yeah.
How long do we do it? I'll do it.
There's no way it happens, but it would be hilarious if after all of this mess, the Texans somehow end up moving into the Astrodome.
Yeah, that would be.
That'd be all right.
That would be hilarious.
Yes.
What is the attitude of the Houston Sports Association? Have they adopted any kind of policy or something?
Nothing yet to my knowledge. The last plan that I know about was approved of was the Astrodome Reborn plan done by Ed Evans a couple of years ago. But then that got scrapped in 2019, and there hasn't really been an official approved proposal yet. Astrodome Conservancy did their near $1 billion proposal, Vision Astrodome last year, but that's, while a very good concept and a concept nonetheless, it's not formally approved yet as this is what's going to happen or this is what we're voting.
Has this proposal been made to people who can say yes?
Not yet. I've been in contact with a couple people, not necessarily super high up. I would like to get to the point one day where I can, make this an official proposal. But as of right now, I am a one-person army.
There's a guy in Houston that films for TV that was and his name.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I would say
For Tina now.
that would be something to consider.
He may not answer.
Yeah, he's kind of busy right now. Present.
I'll definitely say thank you for your generosity.
I'll give it to you before I leave. Have you shared this with Mike Augusta?
I can't remember if I've ever shared this with Mike or not. I think I might have been in contact with Mike once or twice many years ago, but I never formally met him. I have seen a lot of his work though, in regards to like some of the other proposals and stuff he's worked on, just his general Astrodome history is incredible.
He's built the whole dome.
Oh, yeah.
Told us that first, but other than that, it's across the river. It's a small problem. But he's got it where you can pull it apart, like different venues.
Yeah, I've seen the model you're talking about. It's very impressive.
He brought it here. Thank you, sir.
So Benny,
Yes.
going back to Jim Umbright. So his ashes were scattered at the dome.
Yes.
No, but 45 figure.
From what I read, they were scattered at the Astrodome's construction site before they were completed.
Well, you'll have to ask Sal. I thought they were 45 stadiums, because his dad is.
But do we have that developed here? I'd be interested to hear what Val says. It was in the dome. The way I was told the story. That's what I wasn't there.
So
The hole was there. It's in the hole.
Oh, was there? I saw it.
So was it that a team decision or how
I
exactly?
am not
Was it
certain.
in
It
his
is-
wishes?
It is bizarre. I do not know the full logistics. All I know is, to my knowledge, his ashes were deposited via helicopter into the Astrodome's construction.
That's Dierker, he was there.
My father's family, typically, everybody's cremated.
Okay.
And so I've no doubt they asked permission. And was doing it.
Okay. Right, 'cause I just find that interesting.
What did
What's that? Didn't want me. Why why the Astrodome? It was.
I'm not quite certain.
For the love of the game.
For the love of
Honest to goodness, love of the game.
He was the original Houston player, everybody liked him and died mid-season, everybody was in shock, they're all young men.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like a family member died.
he just died, he got sick, he got back.
Yeah, melanoma.
And he was the first player to never retire.
Yes.
It's an emotional thing, that's why they retired his.
It was a sentimental retirement. Yes. There's a lot of people that don't really agree with that kind of. Time.
Okay.
But it's the only one, the Colt 45.
Yeah.
The Colt 45. Numbers.
Mhm.
And I think it was the 13th overall ever. There weren't a lot of numbers retired.
Oh, no, but you should.
Interesting. I'd never heard that before you brought this up. A couple months, whenever you emailed me about this the first time.
It surprised me
Interesting story.
too a lot whenever I first heard about it a few years ago, because it's something that I feel like it should be like very well known, and it's not. And it's it's a very strange thing. But I think that's one of the biggest things that I would like to get about what happened to the Astrodome. If you put something here, it would be like a statue or a plaque or something. Because the fact that it hasn't happened yet is kind of insane.
Good. Thank you, Benny.
Thank you.
Good job, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And speaking of
Good center.
Benny, you mentioned Rickwood Fields, right?
Yes, I did.
Speaking of Rickwood Fields, Samuel has devised a trivia contest for this month. And Samuel, I guess I can do it. The theme is Rickwood Field. So I just found that humorous.
St. Patrick's Day.
Samuel, I'm going to hand this out. So if you want to read the questions, you can certainly do that. Here, I'm gonna hand this out here. I can work alone or with you.
you. All right.
Hey, Bob, the answer to your question of why nothing has happened is because the people in power haven't figured out how to get their cut yet. As soon as they figure out how to get their cut, it'll move quickly.
Because they get their cut.
Yeah. Therapy. There you go. Sure get some.
Trace, I just passed out a couple extras. Okay.
There's two sides, don't forget the back side.
Mike, did y'all get a? Sandy, I'm gonna let you read the question.
All right, sure. So yeah, since y'all been celebrating Houston's most iconic ballpark, I figured this trivia contest would be about Alabama's most iconic ballpark. So, question number one is, what year did Rick Woodfield open?
I don't know anything else.
Okay, you're like.
And number
I
two,
don't
even know what this field is. The drill, also the former black.
Birmingham, Alabama. The oldest. The oldest, herbal right in the country.
You gotta find your food, best. Oh. Well, then, I don't need it, and I don't.
Can't participate, are you know the answers?
Yeah. I didn't look at the answers, but I'd like to go through there.
see, and
By
then-
the winner tonight will get this, his Saber t-shirt. Wow, that you can purchase from Lucha for how much?
T-shirts are 25.
Yeah, if you win tonight, you can get this. So if a group of y'all win, you got to split the t-shirt in half or whatever. You want to
Everybody gets a swatch, huh?
do. That's right.
Take all the tickets and that's my motion.
Right. Did you do question 2 yet, Sam?
No, I haven't. Does everybody have those four? If not, we can just, or so we can just go to
All
the
right,
next
you know
one.
what?
What's the question?
I'll read it. Don't worry about it. I'll read it, Sam. No worries. Number 2.
What was number one?
I got number 1. What year did Rick Woodfield open?
1925.
Wait a minute.
I'm not answering them.
What?
You gotta write your answer down, not holiday.
Yeah, right transfer down, Mike. I'm just gonna go through the questions real fast and then get
We
people.
haven't go through the questions yet.
Question 2. How far was the longest home run ever hit at Rick Woodfield?
All the way over.
Over the original concrete outfield fence. Number 3. How many league championships did Birmingham ball clubs win while calling Rick Woodfield home, according to the exterior of the ballpark? It's not my trivia, it's Samuel's. You know, it's not my fault. You're gonna learn a lot about Rick Woodfield tonight.
You gotta say it with an Alabama accent to make it all.
Including the college teams too?
I don't know. Samuel including the college teams?
No, just professional.
Southern University plays there.
Yeah, just professional teams.
Yeah, there are colleges that play there and some high schools too, but we're just talking about pro here.
Okay. Number 4, what age was Willie Mays when he played for the Black Barons team and won the Negro American League pennant? 56.
He couldn't give it up.
Rick Woodfield's number 5. Rick Woodfield hosted the first integrated minor league baseball team upon passage of the Civil Rights Act. What year?
There were 2 civil rights acts in 1872.
Samuel, the lawyer in the room, says there were 2 civil rights acts, 1872 and 1964, right? I assume you're talking about 1964, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if you get the first question right, then number 5 is pretty well a piece of cake. If you know the civil rights act.
If you get the first one right, for 5, it should be easy. I think he's giving you hints here, Tony.
Trying to make it easy for you.
We're trying to make it easy. You're gonna be a Rick Woodfield's expert tonight. Number 6, when was the lone championship season during which the home team at Rickwood Field was not named the Barons or Black Barons? When was that championship season? Number 7, what was that team called?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Number 8, how many movies have been filmed at Rickwood Field? Not including documentaries.
Oh, not including documentaries.
That's number 8. Number 9, what was the final score of MLB at Rickwood Field last summer? The game they played?
Yeah, they played a major league game last year.
Yeah, what was the final score of that game, Samuel?
Yes, that's the question.
Yep.
All right, good. Okay, cool. All right.
I was sitting behind home plate that game. I don't know if y'all saw it on TV, but I was wearing orange Astros stuff, so
Yeah,
represent.
we saw it.
You saw it? I'll have to go back and watch the game.
What was the score?
Now, Mike, we've had some PhD level trivia contests in here before. This is one of those.
How many got one?
Number 10. The first Astros connection with Rickwood Field came on April 30th, 1970, when the Columbus Astros began a 3-game series at the ballpark. For those who are interested, those Astros had the likes of Cesar Geronimo, Larry Young, and Ken Forsch. Did the Astros win? You have a 50-50 chance of getting that one right. Did the Astros win?
Unless it was tied because of rain delay.
Let's go with tied.
What'd you say, Chris?
No.
It was
I'll give you a
tie.
hint. There was a definitive outcome. There was a winner and a loser.
All right, are you ready for the answer?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, number 1. What year did Rickwood Field open? 1910. Oh!
I should stop it.
I went right there. Stop it right there.
You're the leader in the clubhouse.
How far was the longest home run ever hit at Rickwood Field? 467 feet.
Wow. Go ahead, 15.
Willie Mays.
Do we know who hit that?
Willie Mays.
What was that?
I forgot who hit it,
Oh,
but it was it's on that original concrete fence out there that's beyond the one that's there now. The name is on there along with the little marker of where it was hit over. So
how many league championships did Birmingham ball clubs win while calling Rickwood Field home, according to the exterior of the ballpark? 21? Lucky 21. Number 4. What age was Willie Mays when he played for the Black Barons team that won the Negro American League pennant? 17. Rickwood Fields hosted the first integrated minor league baseball team upon passing the Civil Rights Act. What year? 1972. 1964.
Did you get that one, Tony?
Tony, did you get that one?
I got it. I think over next one.
You may have been thinking about the original Rickwood Field that was built in 1874, and so that's maybe what he's.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was going back.
When was the lone season during which the home team at Rickwood Field was not named the Barons? When was the lone season? 1967. What was that team called?
Hawks.
The A's.
Somebody said the A's. I think they were joking.
Somebody's joking. Did you say the A's?
I did. They moved around a lot.
Tony. Don't roll. How many games have been filmed at Rickwood Field? 4. 3 at least. 3 at least? So 4 could possibly be right.
Possibly, I found 3 for sure. Unless there's been more that somehow slipped my research, but I know 3.
Do you know the movie names?
One was the next.
One was a natural?
Oh,
No, it wasn't.
Natural was in Buffalo.
Well, I told you it wasn't.
Okay, it wasn't the natural. Number 9, what was the final score of MLB game at Rickwood Field last summer, 6-5? Who won that game?
The Cardinals did. Yeah.
The who?
Cardinals.
Did. Cardinals beat the Giants. Yeah.
First Astros connection with the Rickwood Field came upon April 30th, 1970, when the Columbus Astros began a 3-game series at the ballpark. Did the Astros win? No!
Oh, I thought that.
But they did win the Southern League pennant in 1970.
Jose Altuve was in left field for him.
Jose Altuve, left field. He had the game losing error.
He made that catch over his shoulder and then turned it through the guy to second. I saw that play.
Yes.
At Sam, there are any good books on the stadiums?
Samuel, are there any good books on this stadium?
What, Rickwood Field?
Yes.
Oh yeah. It's hard to come up with a bunch of them, but if you go to rickwood.com, there's some of them on their website that you can buy off of there.
Good.
Yeah, there's several.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
But don't go to the wrong Rickwood.
I'll go to the wrong, okay. Yeah, Herb?
Columbus, that was formerly the Astros farm club there.
Yeah.
It's now starting this year, it's going to be the Atlanta Braves. That's like.
Herb, say that again?
Starting this year, the Columbus, Georgia Stadium's to be hosting the AA Atlanta Braves team. They moved from Jackson, Mississippi to Columbus, Georgia.
The old Columbus Astros?
That used to be, yeah, well, I think they've upgraded the stadium.
Yeah. The ballpark is almost done, and I'm actually gonna have a scoring job with them over the summer. I've been in touch with their general manager, so that's pretty cool.
Good.
How long have they been working on it?
Hey, by the way, Samuel, are you coming to town this summer?
It's probably going to be more like the fall because the contract has the publication date of actually no later than Larry Dierker's birthday, September 22nd. But I've been thinking about that. Me and my father were actually talking about that this week of when I'm going to come. But the plan is to come. It's just probably going to be closer to the fall.
All right, because I haven't put you down on the schedule yet, but I would like to put you down in the schedule for being in person, for giving your
Absolutely.
presentation about your books. So if you don't know, Samuel Barrett, guy right here, great presentation. He wrote a book about being an umpire, but his new book is about the 71 Astros. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
his
sir.
first book. That's his first book about the umpire, but the new one is about the 71 Astros. All right, you have a book cover copy of it? You know?
No, I'm just still fooling with that one.
Yeah, that's his umpire diary book. He's an umpire, by the way.
What happened in 71?
The 71 Astros, right?
Right.
It's the team that should have. I don't want to give too much away.
Good.
All right. I don't want to give too much away, Tony. All right, it was potential to be a pretty good team
Until they moved Altuve to the out.
until they moved out to it. Right.
And Joe Morgan to Cincinnati.
Right. Joe Morgan to Cincinnati. Cesar Cedeno just left. Guys, all right. So out of 10, that's a maximum number of answers. 10.
How many got?
Right.
How many you got? 2. Oh, we got 3 people. How many got? 3.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody got 3?
Showdown. 4?
3 Okay, Tony.
Oh, we have a tie for 3. Tony and Herb. Samuel, you got a tiebreaker question?
Yeah,
Or Tony and Herb.
Okay. Let me.
It's for this shirt right here.
If I want to keep it about Rickwood Field, let's see. Yeah. I gotta make sure I get it right. So how about okay. So there was the first home run, because this game was the first MLB game ever played, regular season American League National League game played in Alabama. Who was the first Alabama native to hit a home run in an American League National League game? And it happened in that game.
It happened in the game last year.
Mhm.
First Alabama native to hit a home run.
Alabama didn't produce any big league ball players, right?
Well, I don't think Lonnie Irving played the game last year.
It was a giant or a Kurt.
So,
Yeah, exactly. What was questions?
so what was the name? How many home runs were hit in that game?
Martin Luther King.
There were several, like 3 or 4,
First
honestly.
Major League Alabama born.
So the, yeah,
Later to the home run. Rick was.
that they're stumped.
It was Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals. So
Who?
it was Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals.
Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals.
I also.
Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals.
Is he still in the league?
Yeah, they played last year. Might have got drafted last night by somebody, probably in our fantasy league. All right,
Need another question.
need another question.
Sure.
Question about the 71 Astros. How about that?
I was trying to think about that too. So what about what? Actually, I already found one about Rick Whitfield. Let me ask that one first. If they don't, then I'll go to an Astro one. So here's a ridiculous question. How much did a hot dog cost at the Rick Whitfield game? How much did I overpay?
Last year?
What year?
Listen,
Last year's Rickwood game, how much did they charge for a hot dog?
The closest person to the actual price wins.
Price is what?
Closest person to the actual price wins.
Now coming over.
What was it, without going over? What was the cost of a hot dog at Rickwood Field last year? At the game? Without going over? The cost of one hot dog.
$2.
What's that? Two people here. $5 and what?
$5?
Tony did the Price is Right thing by saying $1. So we got $5 or $1? What was the answer?
all right. It was $7.
You are the winner of this month's trivia contest.
T-shirt.
You get a T-shirt. No, I think that's a 2X. It's a 2X, man. There you go. And you get to write the trivia contest for the May 19th meeting.
Oh, wow.
All right, the May 19th meeting next month. We're going to be at Constellation Field to listen to Tal Smith and watch the Space Cowboys play. April is a pretty good month to go to a game outside of Constellation, as long as it's not raining.
But we'll be in air conditioning if we choose.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. We'll be so it won't matter. Next time we'll meet here is May the 19th. The speaker, I'm working on Bill Brown. Bill Brown may be out of town. If not Bill Brown, I'm gonna ask Dirk maybe to talk. Maybe if that won't work, I got something else. And I'm working on.
Say, can I say something?
Uh,
On both those points, background on Tal Smith and Bill Brown, we had published in the newsletter a 4-part series that Bill wrote about Tal in the 2022 newsletters. If anyone wants to read up on it before next month's meeting.
Right. Y'all got that in their 2022 newsletters. Bill Brown wrote a 4-part series about the life of Tal Smith. So in each newsletter, you get a different story.
For our newsletter?
For our newsletter back in 2022.
So we should read about it before Dallas.
Yeah, all of you should read about it before our meeting. Yes, Bob.
2 questions. When do we have to have our predictions in on the Astros win and Altuve playing left field?
Right. I sent out an email earlier today about Herb would like all of the predictions in before
3:10 p.m. on March 27th.
Before 3:10 p.m. on March 27th. Okay?
Okay.
So again, your predictions are, how many wins will the Astros have this year? And the tiebreakers are, how many games will Altuve play in left field?
And how many games will Lance McCullers pitch?
And how many games will Yordan Alvarez play in left field? Don't listen to Mike. How many games Jose Altuve will play in left field? And how many games Yordan Alvarez will play in left field? The winner this year will get a pretty good gift. All right, I got a pretty good gift for the winner this year. Right? That's it. Thank you all. See you at wait up, Bob. Wait.
Another question.
Sorry, Bob.
When will we have our election?
Yes, we're gonna have our elections. We had them in May last year.
Last year?
Yeah, so we're gonna have them. We're gonna have elections of officers in the next month or so. All right, next month and a half. Thank you, Bob. That's it. Go Astros. See you next month. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Hey guys.